Sometimes no one can tell, but inside your faith feels empty. Not gone, not rejected, just quiet. The prayers feel flat, worship feels distant. The closeness you once felt with God seems harder to reach. Hi, I'm Sandy Hancock, relationship coach, and today I want to talk about a season many believers experience, but few feel comfortable admitting. The season where your faith does not feel strong, does not feel joyful, does not feel comforting. It just feels quiet. If you've ever felt this way, you're not strange, you're not weak, you're not failing spiritually. This season happens to deeply sincere believers. People who still love God, still believe, still pray, still show up. But inside, something feels different, less emotional, less alive, less connected than it once did. And that can be unsettling because we often expect faith to feel warm, alive, encouraging, and full. So when it feels quiet instead, we start to worry. But here is something important and incredibly freeing. A quiet faith is not a broken faith. An emotional flat season is not the same as a spiritual failure. Feelings are real, but they are not the foundation of faith. Because faith was never designed to depend on constant emotional reinforcement. 2 Corinthians 5:7 says, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." And sometimes not by sight also means not by feelings, not by emotional intensity, and not by spiritual highs. There are many reasons faith can feel quiet. Stress, fatigue, grief, disappointment, long seasons of waiting, emotional exhaustion, life transitions. Sometimes your spirit is still faithful, but your heart is tired. Sometimes God has not moved away, but your nervous system is overwhelmed. Sometimes nothing is wrong, but everything feels heavy. And in those seasons, faith can feel less like fire and more like stillness. What often hurts us most in this season is not the emptiness itself, but how we interpret it. Because many people begin to think, something must be wrong with me. God must be disappointed. I must be losing my faith. I must be not spiritual enough. And that fear leads them to withdraw, pray less, distant from God, pull away from worship. But emptiness is not a signal to retreat. It's often a signal to stay. So, what do you do when faith feels empty? Very gently, very simply, stay in rhythm. Not dramatic effort, not forced emotion, just quiet consistency. Continue simple prayers, simple connection, simple presence with God. Even if prayer feels like words, even if worship feels different, even if you do not feel moved, because faithfulness in quiet seasons is incredibly precious. Another important shift, release the pressure to feel spiritual. Do not have to manufacture emotion. Do not have to force inspiration. Do not have to chase a feeling. God is not measuring your sincerity by emotional intensity. Sometimes the deepest faith looks incredibly ordinary, quiet, steady, unseen. And here is a truth that comforts me deeply. God is not absent in silence. God is not distant in stillness. God is not offended by your tired heart. Psalms 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted." Not only when you're feeling strong, not only when worship feels powerful, but also when faith feels fragile and quiet and thin. If your faith feels empty right now, you're not alone. You're not drifting. You may simply be walking through a quieter season of your spiritual life. Stay. Stay close. Stay open. Stay in rhythm. Because even when you do not feel Him, God is still near. I hope this message brought you some peace today.